Welcome to the daily news analysis session of Narayana IAS Academy. Today we are going to cover 5 most important articles from The Hindu and Indian Express. All these articles are highly relevant for the examination. So we'll deal with them in detailed and comprehensive manner. Now before we move on, we have a quote for you. Quote says, "Nothing is impossible and you can achieve anything as long as you set your mind to it and don't give up." And this is what we call as the reality of finding success in life. Wherein if you do not give up, if you keep on doing that stuff, if you persevere, eventually you will get that success. So don't consider, even if you're getting many obstacles, don't consider that something is impossible. Nothing is impossible. Okay? Now the notification one from Narayana's Academy, our 110 days self-study plan has been uploaded in the application. So you can download the application and go through this plan. If you are preparing on your own, then this plan will really help you in the preparation. And as far as those students are concerned who want to take admissions, so our 1 year and 2 year course is active. You can take the admission using the QR code on the screen. So details of the course will be there mentioned on the website. Also here also details are mentioned. So you can go through all these details and get the admission done. Now let's start with our daily news analysis. I've chosen 5 articles. The first article is about talent shortage. So recently a report was released. That report claimed that in coming few years or maybe by 2030 there will be a substantial talent shortage in the entire world. That means there will be demand for many skilled people, but there won't be any supply. People will be less in number, those who are skilled. This talent will be very less in number. So this article is very important, especially from the perspective of India's demographic dividend, India's talent pool. Then second article, this one is related to Microsoft. So recently Microsoft has claimed that they have achieved something really big in the quantum computing. So we'll understand what they have done, what is quantum computing, how it is different from the classical computing, everything. Third article is related to UNESCO Heritage Tag. So recently from Maharashtra, some forts have been sought to be nominated for this UNESCO Heritage Tag. That means if the nomination is not yet done, but it is being said that these forts deserve to get the tag of UNESCO Heritage Site. So first of all, we'll understand what is this UNESCO Heritage Site, and then we'll understand about this Shivaji Maharaj, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and his reign and the landscape of Maratha Empire. Then Indian industry needs innovation, not mindless toy. Now this is very interesting article related to Indian industry. So here India is focusing more on the cheap labor rather than the technological innovations. So we'll understand this article. And the last article is related to Reserve Bank of India, who is infusing 10 billion US dollars through swap. So there is a swap deal which is happening. So these are the 5 articles. Let's start with the first article, which is related to this shortage part. Now recently there was a report, FICCI KPMG report. Now this agency came up with a report. The name of that report is Global Mobility of Indian Workforce. Now this report is important because the report is talking about the workforce in the entire world. Now when we say workforce, we are talking about people who are either working or they are willing to work. See, there are some people who do not want to work. They are not interested in working. So we are not considering them. But when we say workforce, we are talking about people who are willing to work or they are working. So such a population will be workforce. And here we are saying that in the entire world, by 2030, there will be a shortfall or shortage of 85.2 million skilled workers. Now, workers could be either unskilled, semi-skilled or skilled. Unskilled means they do not have any skill in them. Whereas skilled workers, you can look at any IT professional. That professional is a skilled worker. He knows a particular job. He has got one skill. So such skilled workers worldwide, there will be a shortage of almost 85 million people. Now, if you read this report, you will come to know that they are saying that because many things are changing, especially the global technological advancements have a key role to play in the job market, because technological advancements are taking place, especially when you look at artificial intelligence, when you look at IoT, when you are looking at quantum computing, etc. All these advancements in technology are changing the entire landscape of our workforce. Now, for example, if you look at artificial intelligence, those people who are now making use of AI, they are upscaling themselves and they are replacing other people. So this advancement in technology, then changing demographics and evolving skill requirement, all these are the reasons behind the significant transformation that is happening in the job market. I'll describe all this thing in the next slide, but for now just understand that because of all this, a substantial supply of people will not be there. Means there will be a demand for 85 million people who are skilled, but there won't be any supply of such number of people, and this is a substantial number. Now if there is no such supply, that means your economy is going to suffer, or maybe you would be having some potential to earn substantial amount of money, but you will not earn that because you do not have supply of such skilled labor. And it is being estimated that that cost would be somewhere around 8.45 trillion dollars. Now as far as India is concerned, it is being said that this situation can be an opportunity for India. Now as far as the world is concerned, it's a challenge for the world, but as far as India is concerned, it can be an opportunity for India because we have a substantial population who is, if skilled, they can become the supply line. They can become part of this global workforce where there is demand. Now, first of all, why there is this global talent shortage? First reason is the changing demographics. Now, when we say demography, we are talking about the population. The study of population is called as demography or demographics. And here we talk about the population. Let's say if we talk about countries like USA or countries in Europe, or let's say you're talking about Japan, Germany, etc. You look at these countries, their demography, what you will observe is these countries are aging. Their population is aging. Whereas if you compare this scenario with countries like India, you will observe that India is a very young country. If you look at India's population, our average population age will come somewhere around 28, 29, 30. Whereas this is not the case with other countries. For example, by 2030, more than 30% of Japan's population will be above 65 years of age. Now, this shows that the population or demography of Japan is going to be very much different, where more people will be aged. And why they are talking about this scenario? Because when people are aged, they become dependent. They do not remain part of the workforce. Those who are in the age bracket of 15 to 59, this is considered to be a good bracket wherein people will be part of workforce. They will contribute in the economic activities. Whereas after 60, you don't expect people to be part of workforce because they are aged, their health condition is not that good. And those below 15, they are children. They'll not also participate in any economic activity. So the changing demographics is one of the reasons why the global talent shortage is going to be there, because in developed countries, most of the developed countries, there is going to be shortage because of the aging population. Then second reason is technological advancements and changing skill needs. So as I said, technology is changing. Earlier, a task which was done by a machine now will be done by another machine. Here, where earlier if a person was doing something manually, right now artificial intelligence is coming into picture. So you require people, but you require people who have upgraded skill set. So new skills are required, and technological advancement will change the entire landscape. So there will be a specific demand of specific skill set. So let's say people who are skilled with artificial intelligence, there will be very high demand for such people. So because of this, what will happen is there will be again shortage, because not everyone is having this skill set. Majority is not having this particular skill set which is upgraded. Then third is the regulatory and immigration barriers. So right now we are observing some protectionism in the entire world, especially if you look at United States of America. They are putting some barriers for the immigration. So here we see restrictive work permits, visa policies. This somewhere builds barrier against the migration. And if there will not be any migration, there will certainly be some demand. Let's say if you look at USA, after a few years, there will be very high demand for some skilled workers. But because they have immigration barriers, these people will not be there, and hence the shortage will remain. Also, there are some scenarios wherein foreign qualifications are not recognized in many countries. Let's say there is a professional, there is a MBBS doctor from India who is going to some other country, but that country does not recognize that qualification because it is from a foreign country. So such problems will also create this talent shortage. Then we get many times we get this news about migrant workers getting exploited, especially in the Gulf region. Now when such situation is there, or when human trafficking is happening, this also creates some kind of a barrier, because these scenarios will lead to some tensions between countries. Then we have mismatch between education and industry needs. Now this is one of the major problems. Right now technological advancements are taking place. Industry requires specific skill set, upgraded version of knowledge, whereas the educational system or the colleges or universities, they are providing knowledge which is relatively traditional now. So there is a mismatch, and this mismatch is leading to more shortage. So for example, if 100 engineers are graduating this year, not everyone is employable because they are not having the skill set required in the industry. So this mismatch leads to shortage, because companies want some people with good skills, they don't have that, so there will be talent shortage. So these are the reasons. Now if you look at the entire world, there are some geographical locations or areas where there is specific demand for skilled labor or skilled workers. For example, you look at the region of Gulf Cooperation Council. In this region, there is very high demand for skilled laborers who can work in construction, manufacturing, healthcare, and service sector. And GCC countries, they are well-off countries, we can say. And many Indians are working in this region. So their entire economy relies on expatriate labor. That means people coming from other countries who are going there and working there and earning money. But those people are very important for the economies of these GCC countries. Then if you look at another region, let's say you're looking at Europe, including United Kingdom. So these are relatively developed countries. And in these countries, there is a very high demand for healthcare professionals, engineers, IT specialists, etc. So in these countries also you will observe that there will be shortage of these skilled workers. Then if you look at Australia, Canada, etc., these are service based economies. So again here also you will observe IT professionals, finance professionals, engineers, etc. They will have very high demand. Okay, and countries like Canada, if you look at them, they have relatively good policies when it comes to immigration, which is working really good in this sense. Now, we said that although this situation is very much negative, because we are saying that globally there will be a shortage, but for India it can be an opportunity. It's a good situation for India. How? First of all, India has a very young workforce. More than 65% of India's population is below 35 years of age. That's why we say India's population is a young population. This young population, if you provide them with decent education and a skill set, they will become demographic dividend for us. And that's why we say this population can become the supply line for this global talent market. So in the entire world, our population can go and provide that supply of skilled labor. Now, the data suggests that somewhere around 1.5 million engineers are produced in India every year, almost 15 lakh. But there is a problem. Half of these engineers are not employable because they do not have the skill set required in the industry. That is a problem over here, or hurdle. Okay. Then skill development initiatives launched by Government of India. These are also playing a really good role. For example, you look at Skill India, PM Kaushal Vikas Yojana, National Skill Development Corporation. All these are showing that Government of India is putting efforts for the skill development of this young workforce or young population. Then India's diaspora and its advantage. So people who are working in other countries, we call them Indian diaspora. Now this diaspora is having a unique achievement or unique identity. You'll observe that Indian diaspora is in substantial number, but they are also in a very powerful position. If you look at people who are there in United States, they're in a good condition in economic terms. They are at a very higher level. They're working at, let's say, if you look at many Indian origin people holding leadership positions in tech giants like Google, Microsoft, IBM, etc. They're working there. Many are in a powerful position, like even in politics. So they have some advantage in this global talent market. The last is trade agreements and workforce mobility. See, if India goes for free trade agreements with some other countries, already we have some free trade agreements. If we go ahead with some other, let's say we go ahead with free trade agreement with United Kingdom, or let's say with European Union, etc. This will also be very much helpful, because in these trade agreements, India can put in a tag or a clause for service, or for our labor to move towards those countries and become part of their skilled workforce. So all these things bring some kind of an opportunity for India. But with this opportunity, there are some challenges. Unless India tackles all these challenges, we cannot grab this opportunity. So, first of all, I said we have engineers, but most of them are not employable. So, you see, there is a report, this Aspiring Minds report, which claimed that only 48% of Indian engineers are employable in software related jobs. Now, this is not a good news for us. But this is where Government of India needs to work on. Practical training and industry exposure is very much limited, and we all know that. If you look at the engineering colleges in India, there is hell lot of focus on the theoretical portion, and there is very less focus on the practical portion, and there is very less exposure in terms of training and industries. Without this, you can't expect them to become employable. Second, the exploitation taking place when it comes to migrant workforce. We talked about GCC countries where many Indian workers, they face some kind of exploitation. There is very harsh working condition, because of which we say that their labor rights are violated. So this is a challenging thing. There are many agencies who go for fraudulent activities and get into this human trafficking. So all such things are challenges for us where Indian government needs to work. Then recognition of Indian qualification. Now, Indian government might need to go ahead with some kind of agreement with the other countries, wherein there will be recognition for Indian qualification, whether it is medical education, legal education, engineering, or whatever. So that is required, and for that, standardization and alignment with international norms is needed. Other countries will recognize your qualification only when it aligns with the international norms. So we have to do this thing. Okay. Then there is a concept of brain drain versus brain gain. So you see, there is a person who has studied in India from first standard till the completion of engineering or masters. But after that, the person goes to United States of America and now works there. You see, government of India spent a lot of money on that person to study, to learn. That infrastructure that was being used was India's infrastructure, but now the person is working for USA and making contribution in US economy. Now this is where we see that we have a brain which has got drained. We did not utilize that brain over here. That brain has gone to some other country. So this is the scenario which we are observing, and if India becomes supplier of this talent pool in the entire world, that means somewhere we are losing our brains, and this is not good for our economy overall. We can retain that brain, and that brain or that professional will contribute for India's economy. Then the fifth hurdle is regulatory hurdle in workforce mobility. So we said that getting work visas is tough nowadays. There are restrictions, there is protectionism. So here we might need some kind of negotiation with other countries, especially these developed countries. Okay. So if you all know all these challenges, you can understand what will be the way forward for each of them. So if we talk about the government strategies, way ahead or way forward, first of all, focus on this skill development program. Already government has launched many skill development programs. There must be some focus on implementing it in letter and spirit. So here, vocational training, industry, academia collaboration is needed. So whatever industry requires, the academic part or the colleges, universities should align with it. This is very important. Second, improving international workforce mobility. So negotiating some agreements with other countries for this mobility. So you can go ahead with mutual recognition agreements. You can go with easier visa process, work permits, etc. Then protecting Indian migrant workforce, those who are going to Gulf countries or any other countries where labor laws are very weak. So such migrant population needs to be protected. And for that, again, government will have to come up with its own mechanism for some kind of strict oversight on recruitment agencies. So if they are getting into any fraudulent activities, government should have some oversight over them. And we have to work for this labor laws. We have to strengthen these labor laws or agreements with other countries to ensure that their rights, the migrant workers' rights, are protected. And fourth is encouraging Indian talent retention. Now, here we are talking about brain gain. Somehow, if we can retain this population, that will be really helpful in long term. So, we can come up with some tax benefits, research grants, startup incentives, etc. We can go ahead with collaboration with global tech hubs and build our own ecosystem where this brain developed in India will not go to other countries and remain over here or will come back maybe. Okay. So this is all about this talent shortage article. Okay. Now, before we move on to the second article, we'll take a 10 seconds break. If you have any queries, you can please ask in the comment box. Okay. Now moving ahead with the second article of the day. Now this is related to Microsoft, who has claimed that they have achieved something really great in terms of quantum computing. Now this article is important for your prelims as well as mains. You can read this previous year question asked in the year 2011. Virtual private network. Please read the question. I'll give you 5-10 seconds again to read it. Done? Okay. If you read such questions, you'll get an idea of what kind of questions are asked from such topics. So let's start with the quantum computing part, wherein Microsoft is claiming that they are developing a new type of qubit that is more stable and resilient. Now you will not understand this news unless you know what is quantum computing, what is a qubit, etc. So first let's go through the basics. There's a term called computing, and we might relate this computing word with computers, right? So what is computing? So if you have any problems and if you are solving that problem, there you can use this term computing. So it is the process of using computers and digital technology. You make use of any kind of digital technology or computer and solve your problem. You can perform any task of processing any data, you can calculate, you can solve problem, you can go for automation. So whatever your computer is doing is nothing but computing. Okay, this is what we call as computing. Now in this computing there will be some hardware elements, there will be some software elements. Both will come together, integrate and work together and do this computing. Now how computer works? Computer doesn't understand human language. It has its own language, and that language in classical terms is language of 0 and 1. We call 0 and 1 as bits. So whatever information you give to your computer and say that solve my problem or do this particular task, computer will understand everything in terms of 0 and 1. It will do all the calculations, come up with all the information in terms of 0 and 1. And this 0 and 1 can be understood as, let's say, head and tail, or let's say if there is a switch, let's say I have a bulb over here, there is a switch. If I turn it on, I will call it 1. And if I turn off the switch, I'll call it 0. Okay? If the switch is on, it is 1. If it is off, it is 0. So this is how this 0 and 1 comes into picture. And computing is done in the classical scale using 1 and 0 as these two binary digits. Okay? Now what happens? When it comes to quantum computing, we don't make use of bits, we make use of qubits. We make use of qubits. And here something interesting will come up. Now when we are saying quantum, although quantum as a term is used in physics, so there is something called quantum physics, which is very different from the traditional physics. When we are studying traditional physics, we look at the entire world, all the physical material world, physical things, whatever physical processes that are taking place, everything is part of it. So you're studying about gravitation, you're studying about electricity, magnetism, all these things come under physics. When you talk about quantum physics, you are looking at physics at a very small scale. Let's say at the scale of atom. So we call it atomic or even subatomic level. So at the level of protons, neutrons, electrons, at such smaller scales, when you are looking at physics or when you study physics, there the concept of quantum physics comes into picture. And you will observe something interesting, that quantum physics is very different from the traditional physics that you study. That's why it's a different stream altogether. At such a small scale, all the physics, all the laws of physics will become very different. Those principles which are there in the physics will not be applicable over here. Here things will be very different. That's why there is quantum physics, where scientists are trying to study what exactly happens at this level. Okay. Now from quantum physics, we brought this concept of quantum computing. So just like we have the quantum level thing, whatever happens in the quantum physics, like there is a concept of superposition, there's a concept of entanglement that happens there. Similar concept is being used in the computing mechanism. I'll show you, or I'll give you some example related to those concepts. Let's say we are talking about superposition or entanglement, or I can show you over here. So first of all, when you look at things at quantum level, we are talking about qubits and not bits. Bits we were using in the classical computing. So here the basic unit of quantum information will be a quantum bit. Now here, see one thing, what is the core difference? The core difference is, earlier we were saying something will be either 0 or 1. The bulb will be either on or off. If you're looking at a coin, you can either see the head or the tail. So that was the core idea of 0 and 1 as a digit. But in case of quantum or qubits, what happens is something can be 0, something can be 1, and something can be 0 and 1 at the same time. Can you imagine 0 and 1 at the same time? Let's say I have a coin. If I toss the coin, see, before tossing it was showing me head. When it came to my hand over here, now it is showing tail. But when I tossed it, when it was moving over here in the air, if I ask you, was it showing head or was it showing tail? You can't answer. So such position is called as superposition. So superposition is when a qubit can exist in both 0 and 1 states simultaneously. Now this is not possible in the classical computing. So a normal computer which is working on classical principles, it will work in the manner that either it will understand 0 or either it will understand 1. It can't understand both things together. Okay. But here it is possible, and this thing is highly important for very quick processing. If a normal computer can understand just 0 or just 1, and this computer can understand 0, 1 as well as the superposition, then this computer will be very fast. It can solve equations very fast. Okay. Then second thing is entanglement. Now entanglement is very interesting. Even if you look at subatomic level in the quantum physics also, we study this concept of entanglement, wherein you will observe that if there is one element over here and there is another element way far, then if you make changes in this particular matter or material, there will be a sudden change in the other one also, even if there is a very long distance. The distance could be, let's say there are 2 3 galaxies in between, such a long distance is there, but still these two particles are entangled. If you make any change in this one will also change. So such thing is called as entanglement, and same thing is applicable in quantum computing. So two qubits become linked so that the state of one instantly influences the other. Okay, so now you can understand this can be used in the cyber security very easily, wherein if anyone changes any particular information here, suddenly information at the other end will also change. So you'll easily know that your system is being hacked, right? So quantum computing will make use of these two important things, superposition and entanglement. And that's why, because of all these things, a quantum computing or a quantum computer will be in a position to solve equations which are beyond the capacity of a classical computer. And this theory is called as quantum supremacy, a stage where a quantum computer outperforms the most advanced classical computer. So any of your advanced computer, if that computer can solve a problem in, let's say, 2 years, it requires 2 years to solve a problem, quantum computer will solve it in 5 minutes. Okay, so this is the core difference. Now what Microsoft has claimed, they have claimed that they have developed a new type of qubit, and they're saying it's very stable and it is less error prone. So in recent times we had observed many countries are working towards developing this quantum computing, but they're getting many errors. Whenever this quantum computing mechanism they're working on, they're getting many errors. So they were trying to work on it and come up with some stable solution, and Microsoft is claiming that we have done that. Now if they have really done that, so within few years there will be millions of qubit systems, and they can scale it on a longer scale, and they can build a big system just like chat gpt came into picture. Similarly, some kind of a new thing in terms of quantum computing will be brought by Microsoft in the next few years, which will be very stable. Okay, how it will be helpful for us? First of all, very fast computing, obviously you have understood that part. Then it will be helpful in security and cryptography. So as far as cryptography is concerned, if we are doing encryption, decryption, etc., we need fast computing. We need that entanglement, wherein if information changed here, that will be changed on the other side also. So very helpful it will be. Then if you look at it from the perspective of scientific advancement, right now there is AI which is coming into picture, and when AI and quantum computing will come together, now that will certainly change the entire human landscape. Then it will be helpful for pharmaceuticals, climate modeling, etc. And now there is a technological race between countries. So you look at countries like USA, China, India, there is a race to build these quantum computers, practical quantum computers. So this is why we are saying it's a very significant breakthrough. Okay. Now there are some government initiatives already in picture, wherein Indian government is focusing on developing quantum computing systems in India. For example, in the year 2020, government brought this national mission on quantum technologies and applications. This was announced in the budget 2020. Firstly, the focus was on the R&D part, skill development part, and some kind of collaboration with the industries. And after this, we saw a new initiative, National Quantum Mission. Government is spending somewhere around 6,000 crore rupees in 8 years on this particular program, and this is being done under Department of Science and Technology, and this is one of the most important mission for us. So government has brought some structured initiative over here. Focus is on developing quantum computers of 50 to 1000 qubits, then developing quantum communication networks, quantum sensors, quantum materials, and establishing 4 thematic hubs which specialize in different aspects of quantum research, we can say. Okay, so this is an important mission for us. Apart from this, there is this quantum key distribution and secure communication. We said that for encryption, decryption, for these also we will use quantum computing. So if you look at ISRO and DRDO, they are working on this part to develop this quantum key distribution. Then we have international collaboration. Let's say if we talk about India USA collaboration, so in bilateral cooperation we have this ICET initiative on critical and emerging technologies, and in this there is focus on quantum computing. Then we have BRICS quantum collaboration, wherein Russia, China, Brazil, South Africa, and India are working together to build quantum computers or to go ahead with the research part. Okay, so this was an important article, quantum computing. Again, I'll give you, let's say, 10 seconds, and we'll start with the third article after that. Let me check if we have any questions or doubts. Done. Now, the next article is related to UNESCO Heritage Tag. Now, you can read the previous year question asked in the year 2014 related to this Montreux record. Please read. I'll give you 5-10 seconds again to read it. Now, see, such factual questions can be easily expected in the examination. If they can ask about this Montreux record, you can expect similar question on the UNESCO World Heritage Site or the selection criteria of UNESCO. Okay. Now, what's the news? There's a delegation. There are some people from Maharashtra who have gone to Paris and they have presented their proposal to United Nations, or specifically to say the body specialized agency of United Nations named as UNESCO. They're saying that we have 12 forts in Maharashtra associated with Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. These forts deserve to be part of UNESCO World Heritage Site. So please provide that status to these particular forts which were under the Maratha military landscape of India. Okay. Now, first of all, when we say Maratha military landscape, we're talking about the region of Maharashtra, some part of even Tamil Nadu. So, if you look at the Maratha Empire or the Maratha military landscape, so you can imagine the time span of somewhere around 17th to 19th century. Now, in this time period, Shivaji Maharaj started the reign of Maratha Empire. Now, in the year 1670, it was started. Later on, the Peshwa rule continued till 1818, Common Era. Now, here, if you look at number of forts in the region of Maharashtra, there are total 390 or even more than these. So, almost 400 forts which are present. Out of that, they are saying that 12 forts are important and these should be selected. Now, already out of these 12, 8 forts already are protected by Archaeological Survey of India. So, this shows that these forts are certainly important. And if you look at the geography, you will see that these forts are located in different localities. So, let's say look at the Sahyadri Mountains, part of the Western Ghat, Konkan Coast, Deccan Plateau, and even Eastern Ghat. Okay. And these forts are having exceptional fortification, which I can show if there is any image. Okay, there is no image, but they have a really exceptional fortification and the area is very interesting. You'll find mountainous region, you'll find very much greenery or forest region, and in this region fortification is done. So what they have done, the Maratha people, what they have done is they have tried to leverage the natural topography, and many a times this forest region was used for the guerrilla warfare tactics, especially by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Now, as far as all these forts are concerned, if we see the list of nominated forts, you can read this list. I said that there are 12 forts which are chosen for nomination by these delegates, which includes Salher Fort, Shivneri Fort, Lohgad, Khanderi Fort, Raigad, Rajgad, Pratapgad, Suvarnadurg, Panhala Fort, Vijay Sindhudurg, and Jinji Fort. Now, this Jinji Fort is in Tamil Nadu and not Maharashtra. So, this is an important fact for all of you. Now, first thing is, when you look at this UNESCO World Heritage category or UNESCO World Heritage Site, this can be of three types. One is a natural site. So, let's say you're looking at a national park or something very natural. So, you will call it a natural site. There can be something which is called as cultural site. which is culturally very important. And third will be a mixed one. It could be natural plus cultural. That would be a third category. Now these foods are being nominated under the category of cultural sites. Okay. Now look at UNESCO World Heritage Site status. Obviously, it is given by UNESCO. UNESCO is United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, which is a specialized agency of United Nations. Now, what they do is they come up with some list. That list includes sites in the entire world which are having outstanding universal value to humanity. Okay, so three types of sites as I already mentioned. Now how this is decided whether some sites are going to be given this status or not? So there will be a selection process. So UNESCO World Heritage Committee will be there, who is going to tell which one will be getting that particular status. Now every year, once a year, there will be a committee who will be leading all these things. The committee will meet once a year. They are going to review all the recommendations or nominations, and finally they will make the decision. And all this will be done under this World Heritage Convention of 1972. So this convention is important for all of you to remember. Now what is the criteria? So there are total 10 selection criterias which are mentioned. So in the notes we'll be providing you that criteria which you can read. So if any of the figure, any of the site is having relevance in terms of all those 10 criterias, then this will be included. And what is the benefit of including these UNESCO World Heritage sites? Well, there are lots of benefits. For example, there will be international recognition for that site. Now, it's something prestigious for people. If something from their country or their region is nominated at the UNESCO level, so it's a matter of prestige and recognition. Second, this country whose site has been nominated, that country will then commit to protect and conserve that particular site. Then there will be some kind of funding or technical assistance provided by UNESCO also. And because this site has got recognition, many tourists around the world will find these sites interesting, and the tourism of your country will be boosted because of these recognitions. Okay, so this was your third article. Now the next article is related to Indian industry. Again, I'll give you few seconds. Before we start with the fourth article, let me check if you have again any doubts. No doubts. Okay, we can move ahead. So this fourth article, Indian industry needs innovation, not mindless toy. Important for your GS paper 3 economy. Now you can read this previous year question asked in the year 2019. Again, related to your Indian economy part and a very broad kind of a question. Please read. So the question is talking about contribution of this unorganized sector of Indian economy and what kind of challenges workers in this sector face. And even this article is very much related to the same unorganized sector that exists in India. Now, first of all, what the article is saying, Indian industry depends on cheap labor and long hours rather than innovation. So, if you look at Indian industries nowadays, that debate is also going on wherein should we increase the number of hours people work in the industries. So that debate is going on. This article is specifically saying that India or Indian industry is still focusing on this on these two things wherein they want workers to work for long hours as well as they should work for lesser amount. That means we want cheap labor, and Indian industry is focusing on these aspects to remain competitive in the world. But they're not focusing on innovation, they're not focusing on technological advancements. And the article is saying this is not a good strategy, this is not a good long term strategy, but a very short term vision. Okay, now to understand this, let's take some overview. First of all, is there excessive working hour in India? Yes, it is there. Already it is said that the industrial workers in India, they work for somewhere around 11 to 12 hours daily, and their working condition is also very much pathetic. Many a time they don't even get many leaves as such, they don't have security, the social security which is required. Then there is lack of productivity focus. So you see, the workers in India on an average, they work for 46.7 hours per week. Now compare this data with other countries. You look at USA, their average is 38. You look at Japan, it is only 36. And compare it with India, already our average working hours are more, and there are many people who are saying we should increase it. So this shows that we are not interested in bringing more focus on productivity, rather we are just increasing the number of working hours. Then we observe informal employment. So there was a data given by periodic labor force survey in the year 2023-24. They said that in India only 21.7% of India's workers had regular salaried job. Remaining people do not even have a regular salaried job. They are either freelancers or they are casual workers, self-employed, etc. Okay, a bad news. The worst thing is, even those people who are part of this regular salaried jobs, even their condition is not good. The working condition is very much informal, wherein they do not have any job contract as such, they don't get any paid leaves as such, they don't get any social security benefits as such. So informal working condition is there. So this shows that Indian industry is not having really good conditions as such. And now if you see the National Statistical Office, now why I'm talking about this is because I've given you the data given by PLFS. So you should have a basic idea about PLFS, that National Statistical Office, which is under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, they come up with this report called PLFS, and it talks specifically about employment, unemployment and labor market conditions in India. So the report is coming from government. So you can say that whatever data we have over here, it's a very authentic data. Okay. Then we have exploitation through contract labor. So 56% of the new hires in the factories, they receive very low wages. We all know that they get very low wages and they don't have any job security, although there is no job security for others also. Then profit driven labor policies which are going on, delayed payments to small firms. Now this is very important. You see, there are many small firms who are supplying something to, let's say, big firms. What big firms will do, they'll not provide the payment on time, because of which these small firms, they will always have shortage of funds. And why this is important? Because if you want your productivity to become better, you will have to spend your money on the advancements, on the technological things, on modernization, etc. But if you are having shortage of funds every single time, you cannot spend money on that. And that's the reason these small firms will be having issues every time and they cannot invest in the modernization. Now this will have impact on the overall competitiveness. Let's say if I talk about the garment industry in India. So there is a labor advantage in India. Why labor advantage? We have so many people. We have a young population. We are top. We are at the top when it comes to the population part. We have cheap labor available in India. So we have a labor advantage. So as far as garment industry is concerned, we should be at the top when it comes to garment industry. But India's share in the global garment export is around 3.1%, and since last 20 years it is almost 3.1% only. We are not growing. Even if we have labor advantage, we are not growing. And whereas if you look at China, Bangladesh, Vietnam, they're moving ahead because they have spent their money on modernization. We have not spent money on modernization. And we are going ahead with this cheap labor part only. Okay. There is lack of there is lack of technological upgrades, as I have already talked about. Now what happens is, when you focus on cheap labor, now companies will be ensuring that people working for them will get less amount of money, because of which what will happen is, the maximum population who is working in the industries, they will be having less amount of money with them, which we call as disposable income. So they'll be spending less amount in the market, and there will be a loop wherein lesser demand will be there because people do not have enough money to spend. So sluggish industrial demand and the economic growth will be very much slow because of this. Okay. Then this dependence on low cost labor, this is there. This restricts the long term innovation and expansion. So the article is saying there is a need to change. There is a need for a shift towards some kind of innovation. So first of all, you focus on technology driven growth. Put your money, put your efforts on technology or technological advancements. Bring some better labor policies. Reforms are needed in terms of fair wages, reasonable working hours, stronger worker protections, etc. Third, government support is required. So let's say if you want private sector to put money on research and development, they won't do it. So you have to provide some incentive. Government will have to provide some incentives. So that part is very important. And balancing profitability with workers' welfare, that is very important. So you have to ensure that worker is feeling good, is living a good, decent life, well-being condition is there, as well as there is profit. So this kind of a shift is required in Indian industries. This is the final argument of the article. Okay. Now we have the last article of the day, and this article is about the swap deal brought by the Reserve Bank of India. Now see, this article we have already covered on 22nd February, USD INR swap deal. So those who want to study this, they can reach to this comment box wherein there will be a link provided. You can reach out to this video and watch it. Okay, and the notes will also be provided over there. Now the time is for practice questions. We have a mains practice question and I will give you 5-10 seconds, let's say. Read it and just brainstorm whether you can answer this question or not. 10 seconds, okay? Done? So the question is asking about, the global job market is witnessing a severe talent shortage with a growing demand for skilled professionals across various sectors. In this context, analyze how India can position itself as a global talent hub. So how can India do this? Second, discuss challenges in workforce mobility. And third, suggest policy measures. So they've asked three things. So your body part should include these things. Start your answer by defining this global talent shortage, or you can mention about that report also showing that global talent shortage will be there by 2030. Then India's potential in the global talent market. Show this, that we have demographic dividend, we have skill development initiatives, all these things you can mention. Then challenges we have. So skill gap is there. We don't have recognition for qualifications, immigration policies which are very restricting nowadays. All these things you can mention. And then third part is measures. So what policy measures government can take. All these we have already discussed. You can mention, and finally you can conclude that India can capitalize on global demand for skilled workers with the right policies. So talk about this thing wherein you need well planned strategies. Okay. Now prelims practice question. Now these are the questions from yesterday's DNA articles. Yesterday as in Saturday. So I'll give you the answers for these. The first question, currency swap mechanism. Now in this question, first statement is correct. Second statement, RBI conducts buy or sell swaps to permanently increase India's foreign exchange reserves. This is wrong. This is not done on permanent basis, but a very temporary thing. So if you cancel this second statement, then you will reach to the answer B. You don't even need to read the third statement. Okay. Then second question, India Qatar. India aims to increase the share of natural gas in its primary energy mix to 25%. Wrong. It's just 15%. So first statement wrong. Qatar is India's largest supplier of LNG and its liquefaction capacity is set to nearly double by 2027. That's true. That's a very generalistic statement. So B is the right answer. Then third, which of the following organization has recently published Quality of Public Expenditure Index? Well, the answer is Reserve Bank of India. So answer is easy. Now these questions are your homework because these are from today's articles and you will get the answers tomorrow. Those who want to attempt it, please, you will find the link in the comment box. Click on the link, you will reach to the website where you can attempt these questions. So first question, I'm putting it on the screen, you can read it. Okay. Then you have second question, you can pause the video and read the question and then attempt it. Okay. And the third and the last question related to periodic labor force survey. Again, you can pause the video and read it. So this is how I claim that we have completed our DNA session for today. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you so much for joining.